I want to take the opportunity, first of all, to thank the Secretary General and his entire team for having called 151 registrars and 152 administrative officers of the National Resistance Movement to Kampala for a briefing. A big hand. Ndugu Secretary General, you have shown total commitment. And ever since you took over, you have seen that the National Resistance Movement as a party from headquarters is getting stronger and stronger, and the taproots of the party, who are being led by the team before us this afternoon, is a consolidation of the direction and the command of a party which is a revolutionary party. I would like to thank His Excellency the President, our revolutionary leader, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for having made it possible for this party to govern this country for the last, coming tomorrow, to 39 years. A big hand. If you recall, in 1986, at the steps of Parliament, His Excellency the President said, upon taking over power and being sworn in, he said, and I quote, "This, I think, is going to be a fundamental change, and is not going to be a mere change of guards," unquote. The National Resistance Movement has premised itself on tolerance, the observance of the rule of law and order, and the ability to transform this economy or this country using 4 key pillars, which is our political, which are our key political icons or pillars. That is patriotism, Pan-Africanism, social economic transformation, and democracy. These are the 4 pillars of the party. Today, you have come in to underpin the 4 pillars. Democracy. Without you on the ground, the party cannot blossom. The National Resistance Movement, and let me underline one fundamental factor. Democracy or elections is a game of numbers. The more numbers you have, the more solid a party is. It is only the National Resistance Movement political organization that can field candidates right from the grassroots up to the apex of leadership of this country with solid credentials, as it were. And I want to thank you, the registrars and the administrative assistants, for having given Uganda, the National Resistance Movement, credit by giving us credible candidates. General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is doing his part and continues to serve this country with commitment. We were saying the other day in the tours we've had that by the time he took over power, National Resistance Movement government has been engaged in war to bring peace and stability to this country for over 25 years. And if you do recall, we have fought and defeated over 14 major groups. From Busia, we had a man called our good friend, the late Agrawori. Foba, Fosobote back again in 1986. We had in Teso, UPA, led by Peter Tai, the late, and Colonel William Omaria, led by a man called Hitler Regu. You had Juma Oris in West Nile, West Nile Bank Front Part 2. You had Major General the late Bamuze, Uganda Rescue Front Part 2, out of Rojo in South Sudan. You had Alice Lakwena's father. Then you had Alice Lakwena Holy Spirit Movement, who was defeated here at Magamaga and crossed over at Lumino to Kenya. You had Kony. Kony fought for over 23, 24 years. The last attack was in Teso, where Subi here was one of the fighters, the chairman, Central Buganda. Kony was folded like a carpet 2,000 kilometers into Central African Republic, never to come back again. That is your gallant army. You had the Karamojong. The Karamoja had over 80,000 guns. More guns than the guns in Kenya, in the police, army, prisons put together. Karamoja. You had the Tongwa here, Chirimutu in Buganda. You had NALU, National Army for the Liberation of Uganda, by the former minister of Obote. Then you had ADF by this man called Jamil Mukulu, who is in Luzira now, who are deep in the DRC Congo. What am I saying? The national resistance movement has been able to, under General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has been able to bring peace, total peace to the country, from the north to the south, east to the west. Without peace, there would be no democratic elections in this country, which will be peaceful. And I want, and the gallant forces of UPDF, a big hand for that. Uganda now is exporting peace. We're exporting it to Somalia. We have been in Somalia now, coming to the 12th year now. Somalia in Mogadishu is a country where NATO had walked away when the 2 helicopters were gunned down by General Haid's army, the rebel force. That's when the son of Kaguta stepped to Mogadishu. Mogadishu has been able to hold 5 major successive presidential elections with the support of our gallant forces of UPDF. We are now exporting peace to Somalia. You have seen what we have done in South Sudan. If NRM are not, our forces are not intervened in South Sudan, we would have had the worst genocide after Rwanda in South Sudan. We have been to Central African Republic to pursue Kony. We are now in the DRC Congo to pursue ADF and to help working together with the army of the DRC to bring total peace into that region. So Uganda under General Museveni has been a major factor, not only in Uganda, but the entire East and Central African region. General Museveni is the center of gravity of the region. Despite all those challenges we have faced, I want to tell you, registrars, Uganda's economy has been growing for over 30 years at over between 5 to 6% constantly. By 1982 and 1986, when Museveni took over power, we only had 62 megawatts of electricity. 2 generators were working in oil fields dams. Today, the National Resistance Movement has built 5 major dams, including the latest one, Karuma. We now have excess electricity. We are over 2,000 megawatts from 62 megawatts. By 1986, we only had 1,382 kilometers of roads. We are now over 6,000 kilometers of roads tarmacked, border to border of Uganda's with neighbors of Uganda. All roads are tarmacked. A big hand for General Museveni. You can now see that Uganda now has got capacity in the export of coffee. We are among now the largest exporters of coffee in the African continent and the world. We have excess sugar. We have excess beans. We have excess milk. Every means and capacity to build our, what you call, our comparative advantage in agriculture, which is, Uganda has got 48% of East Africa's arable land. We now have capacity to build and grow our economy using factors where we have comparative advantage. And that is on export of goods and services, including coffee, tea, and others. Our economy is stronger. You can see that the Uganda shilling against the dollar has remained constant for a long time at about 3.650, 3.7. Some of the economies in the region are melting, but Uganda's macroeconomic policy and fiscal direction is quite stable. The message I'm trying to send you in this initial submission to you is to tell you that your national resistance movement under General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is stable and it is strong. And I want to really thank you for having supported this initiative. It is therefore important for you, comrades, to understand that General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is not just a politician. He's not like my friend John Ken Luchamzi, who works with his briefcase with his political party. He's not like the others. He is a revolutionary leader. In a revolution, I want to tell you that leadership, which is a directive of God, because leaders are chosen by God, and I would like to thank God Almighty, God of Abraham, for having given us a great leader in the name of General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. You have never had a man, even one day, that he has been sick with his legs up, that is very sick. You have never seen him. In the last 39 years, you have never heard Museveni that General Museveni has gone on a holiday in Hawaii, like the American presidents do. He has never gone on a holiday. He works day and night to make sure that Uganda is peaceful and stable. The man has worked in such a way that some people think Museveni has got everything. Museveni does not even have a car of his own. He's got a house and cows. That is where he concentrates on. Many leaders who have been in power in the African continent have accumulated wealth. I like to thank God for a clean leadership under Museveni. I want therefore to say that you who are on the ground have a duty to make sure that you continue maintaining the stability of this country. And the purpose of you coming here today is a fulfillment and a pursuit of the Central Executive Committee's directives. And the directives of Central Executive Committee were very clear. One, a clean register. That should now be completed, and then we hand it over to Professor Tango Doi, so that Professor Tango Doi, working with you, can now be able to deliver a clean, transparent electoral process. It is the first time the national resistance movement is having an electronic register, and is going to carry out elections based on digital information and digital register. No party in the country has a digital register. No party. And I want you to note that it is only the national resistance movement which has got over 80 LC1s. I think we have over 80 LC1s. We even have more, 80% of chairpersons of the national resistance movement govern this country. It is therefore important for you to note that whereas we could have made mistakes in the last elections, let me send a message to all the other political parties that the national resistance movement is getting more and more organized, and come 2026, the national resistance movement is going to trounce all political parties. We are organized. When we make mistakes or there are mistakes that occur, we organize and become stronger and better. And I want to assure you that come 2026, the presidential candidate, and I'm very sure we are going to nominate General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni as our presidential candidate. We will win these elections hands down. Why? You look at all the other political parties. What political parties do you have? You have the Forum for Democratic Change. They have completely disintegrated. One group is in Katonga, another group is in Najanankumbi. Other groups are gone silent. Now it's no longer Forum for Democratic Change, but it's now Forum for Democratic Confusion. Now, you tell us, who are they going to field as a candidate for us to face in 2026? That can be formidable to face General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Then you look at NUP. The NUP. This NUP. Trying to come together, they are disintegrating. There's a massacre group, there's another DP what? DP Alliance. Then there's others. You will see what will happen. Now there is DA. I'm told by Kiwanda here that there's DA, Democratic Alliance. Now, let me tell you, if you cannot organize yourself, do not blame NRM. Our duty, and there is a saying in common logic, that when your enemy is making mistakes or your competitor, don't interfere. Our duty is to make NRM stronger and better through you. I now want to appeal to you. Honorable Chiwanda labored on this. He was able to elaborate, elucidate on this matter, to say that do not discredit Tango Doi. Tango Doi cannot be omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. It's not God. It is you who can disorganize the elections, not Tango Doi. The policies on elections will come out very clearly, and that will be passed by the national resistance movement. But we want to warn you, those of you who want to take money and compromise what would be a clean electoral process through the money we have spent so much to mobilize an electronic register, you'll get into trouble. I appeal to you to maintain integrity on the ground, because you are going to be Tango Doi on the ground. You're going to be the Secretary General on the ground. You're going to be General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni on the ground. We are going to delegate the powers to you. Hold a clean election. Let it be transparent. Do not be compromised by politicians who are going to float money in order to compromise the elections. I want to appeal to you, comrades, that this revolutionary stand, this revolution should not be compromised. It should not be undermined. It's against this background, therefore, that members of SEC, the Central Executive Committee, have come today to assure you that while you are doing your duty, we shall give you full support. Ndugu Secretary General, I also would suggest that instead of them forming their own microfinance because they are not getting enough money, the money on the ground may not be enough. I would like to appeal to say that you prepare a minute for Central Executive Committee to consider so that a more robust microfinance function or money is given to these people to do their work very well. They have got children to pay school fees for. They have got to take care of other things. Some of them have 2 or 3 wives, I think. So you can see that the cost of living can be a problem. But if they can be guaranteed the capacity to borrow money from the microfinance, Ndugu Secretary General, we are in government and we should not be allergic to taking decisions to support our people. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the Secretary General and your team, and to assure you that on behalf of the Central Executive Committee, we are behind you and we shall support your efforts in the leadership of the party in the coming elections 2026. Professor Tango Doi, you're a strong man. You may not have vertical and horizontal capacity yet, but I want to assure you that despite those challenges, you are one of the most effective leaders we have had in the Electoral Commission. Do not be deterred. You and your comrades continue doing your